Hello everyone, my name is Chu Xiu Yan and today I'll be sharing about a web app I made for 304 CEM Web API development.
Every time we want to search for something, we go to Google. But what if we want to search for top headlines in our country? If we type, for example, Malaysia top headlines, what we get is a bunch of links that direct us to different websites that may or may not give us what we want. While Google has a news tab for this kind of searches, the results are not always recent and relevant. For instance, the first one is from 4 hours ago, the second one is from November 18, and the third one is from September 25th. When we search for top headlines, we usually want top headlines of the day and not just popular top headlines that may have already been obsolete. Hence, here I have created a simple web app that let us do just that. It is powered by newsapi.org and we can search for any top headlines in the country just by entering the country name in the search bar. For example, I'll search for Malaysia's top headlines. As you can see, all the articles here are recent. Today is November 23rd, and all the articles here are from November 23rd. If we want to read more into each article, we can click on the Read More button, and it will direct us to the web page it was originally posted on. We can also save these articles to read later on. And we can view them from here. So as you can see, the new article I saved is here. And I can delete them. I can also delete all the articles I have saved with this Delete All button. Back to the news search, we can also search using keywords. For example, if I enter Penang, which is not a country's name, it will not give us top headlines of Penang, but it will give us everything related to Penang. And as we can see, the articles are still recent. They are all from November. It's the same, we can again read more about each articles and we can save the articles as well. For example, I'll save this article. And we can view them here. We can also search for random keywords such as reflection. And it will give us articles that are related to the keyword. If we don't enter anything into the search bar, it will give us an error message. Or if we provide incorrect or invalid input, it will also give us an error message if no results are found. So how does all this actually work? All the news data here are actually obtained from the News API endpoints provided by newsapi.org. So newsapi.org actually provides two different kinds of API endpoints. So they have top headlines, which will give us all the top headlines of the country you provided. But as you can see, it requires an alpha 2 code of a country and not the country name. So these are all the inputs it accepts. And also you can search from everything, which will take in any keyword and gives you news articles related to the keyword you provide. So here I'll be testing using Postman. Okay, so this is the top headlines API and it requires the country. So if the country I provide is Penang, it will of course give us no results. And if I enter Malaysia, Again, it does not give us any results. This is because it requires, as mentioned, the alpha 2 country code. So for Malaysia, it's MY. These are all the top headlines in Malaysia. So as you can see, the format of the data it gives us, as the author, the title, the description, URL, URL to image, publish at, and content of an article. So when I display it on the UI for the website, I actually took most of it except the content. This is because the content is actually just a more elaborate version of the description. And users can actually read more about it if they go to the main page, which the article was posted on. So let's check if the data provided here will be the same when I search in the website. So here we have Unite, focus on winning state polls, Anwartel Sarawak, BKR, Malaysia, Kini. So if we go back to the website, and again we search for Malaysia, you can see that the title here matches to the API data returned when we tested on Postman. So here we have displayed the title, the author, the date published, the description of the articles. And also, this read more button is actually linked to the website this article was originally posted on. And of course, this image is also from the data provided from the API. So why is it that the results displayed here when I search using Malaysia the same as when I search using MY in the top headlines API? This is because I use another API, which is this API right here, developed by Marquis the Geek, which will be used to turn the user's input, which is Malaysia, into MY. And then using chain Axios call, I'll pass MY into this top headlines API right here, and then execute the Axios call, which will give us the results. But if the conversion API does not give us any results, the input provided by the user will be passed into this API instead, which will give us everything matching the keyword. And if we take a closer look at this conversion API, there's an additional parameter added at the back. So let's test it out in Postman. So back here in Postman, so this is the country name to country alpha 2 code conversion API developed by Marquis the Geek. It actually requires just the country name, and there's an additional parameter closest, which is optional. So how does this actually work? So if I search Malaysia, okay, it will give me MY, which is the alpha 2 code for the country Malaysia. So what if I accidentally mistype the name? So for example, if I'm missing a Y. So let's view this in a nicer way. So as you can see, it gives me two results. One is Malawi and one is Malaysia. So in this case, I will get the first result, which I will take MY and pass it into the top headlines API to get results to display on the website. This is to ensure that the website would still provide relevant top headlines data, even with small typos, which has a slight chance of being what the user was actually looking for. So why am I using chain Axios call and not just call the APIs one at a time? This is because I need to pass the first API's output to the second API. As mentioned, I need this API to return me the country code, which will be passed into this API to return me the results. And if no results was provided from this API, I will just pass the input the user provide into this API here. So if I do the Axios call separately, one at a time, and if the first API call, which should be doing the conversion, is slow, it will give me an empty result, which will always result in the everything API being called every single time. So now that we have taken a look at how the API calls the chain Axios works behind the scenes of the website, let's take a look at the schema, which is responsible for saving all the articles data into the database in which we are using MongoDB. So this is the article schema. So here we have saved the title, the author, date, description, image, link. So the image is actually the URL of the image, and the link is the URL that will direct users to the original page the article was posted on. So let's take a look at what it looks like in MongoDB's collection page. Okay, so back to the website. Under Save Article, we have one article here. Business Committee says no. So let's go to MongoDB collections. So as you can see, there's only one result here which matches to the result shown here. So if we add more articles, okay, so you can see just now I added 3 more articles. They are shown here. So if I refresh this, there should also be 4. Yep, so there are 4. So again, let's have a look if it matches the schema. There's the title, description, link, authors, image, and date. Well, I have successfully completed this project to fulfill the criteria of having 2 APIs and utilizing MongoDB to store, retrieve, and delete data. The outcome of the project is still quite simple. This is because while managing my time, I have prioritized my final year project over the development of this website. While I did not regret my choice in prioritizing my final year project, I believe I could have allocated more time to improve the website or even reconsider the combination of APIs I would have used for the website. And also, a little small add-on, I've added credits to the APIs I use. So this powered by newsapi.org is actually required, as you can see here in the pricing. I'm using the free developer plan, and here the attribution is required. And I have also given credit to Marquis the Geek, which has provided me with one of the API I'm using, this country name to ISO2 API. While the end result of this project may not have matched up with what I have originally planned, this web app is still able to be helpful to users trying to get the most recent news article. For instance, a student looking for a news article to back their claims for a research paper want the source to be as recent as possible. For instance, if I search for machine learning, articles shown here are all pretty recent. So this one is from October, November. And this kind of articles would be helpful if the users are trying to cite their claims. From this project, I've learned a lot. Like for example, I've learned to code in a new programming language I've never learned before, JavaScript, Node.js, and using React. Also, I've learned to use MERN framework, which includes MongoDB, Express, React, and Node.js. I have also learned to use schema to store data into a database, use chain Axios call to ensure the API's call are done consecutively. I've also gained some knowledge in web design, like using React to display a nicer pop-up, which is called Model in React. I've also played around with the UI styling using CSS. And lastly, I am thankful for this opportunity as I have learned a lot from front-end design to back-end design. This experience has allowed me to start web development, which I have never done before in class.